wiping my nose. Okay. Well, again now, welcome everybody. And I think we're ready now. And let there be light. Well, good to see everybody. Last couple of days, it almost seems like spring is in the air. Good thing. Although I know we have a couple of storms coming later, but anyway, enjoy it. Last week, Reverend Bup Il gave the Dharma talk. And, you know, I thought it was a good talk. But one of the things he said, and I'm going to paraphrase it, if you are not amazed at this life, you're just not paying attention. And I thought, yeah, that's cool. So I thought I'd go on about that a little bit maybe today. And I agree wholeheartedly with that little sentence. The ordinariness of the present moment is truly extraordinary. And you can develop the perspective to see that. When you realize the extraordinariness of the moment, you have to look on in amazement at what is unfolding moment by moment. Let the moment be the most important moment of your life, this moment. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of cliches in this talk, so get ready for the cliches. They're cliches because they do have meaning. It's just we hear it so often we forget. Living in the moment enables you to experience what is happening right now and enables you to develop an appreciation for the right now and for the ordinary. When your life is always on next week or next year or last week or last year, you're missing the most important moment of your life, and that is this moment. Now, what is the ordinariness of our life? Well, it's a lot. Bless you. Now, just look at your heart. Simply examine your heart to see the extraordinariness of this life. Now, if your heart beats 70 times per minute, which is, mine's in that way, bless you again, mine's in that 70, 75 minute, I think. Minute after minute for as long as you live. Now, that's 70 beats per minute, that's 4,200 beats per hour. 100,800 beats in a day. 36,720,000 beats in a year. And if you live to be 74, like one of us in here is anyway, that's 2,717,280,000 beats. That's extraordinary. That muscle just keeps on beating. 74 years it's been beating in this body. Now, if my heart stops for just 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, I don't exist. I'm not here anymore. I'm gone. Or my brain may be so damaged that the mind is gone, unless somebody's doing CPR on me. So if my heart stops, start the CPR right away. So you look at these types of things in your life and you see how extraordinary the ordinary really is. Now, here's another, we're going to do statistics today. Statisticians have computed that our chance of birth is 1 in 400 trillion. That's a lot. 400 trillion, that's a lot. Well, how big is that? Well, if you take a trillion $1 bills and stack one on top of the other, it would reach 76,000 miles up. 1 trillion $1 bills. 400 trillion $1 bills would reach 27 million miles up. Miles, not inches, miles. And I flunked senior math, so I'm going to tell you right now, some of you may want to check these numbers after I'm done, because these sound a little bit odd to me, but my calculator says these are the numbers. Now, if you take $1 trillion and place them end to end, that distance will be 96,900,000 miles. That's farther than the distance to the sun. My history in this country goes back, the earliest ancestor that my family is aware of, one of my cousins did a ancestor thing. There's a John Sibley born in England, Herefordshire, England. My maternal grandmother is a Sibley. So John Sibley is somewhere back in the past generations, an ancestor. And he came to the United States in 1629. He was a Puritan. He wasn't involved in the Salem witch trials, as I understand it, because he was dead by the time these came around. But there was a Mary Sibley who was somehow involved in the Salem witch trials, and she's also an ancestor of some sort. But when you think about what had to happen for that John Sibley to reach all the way down to me, 1 in 400 trillion chances of being born, and John Sibley had to marry the exact person he married, and they had to have a intimacy at the exact moment they had an intimacy, so that that ancestor came to be, and then everybody that that ancestor married, and so on and so forth. Astronomical numbers. The fact that you're here is so unlikely that it should be considered a miracle, which it's not. It's just life. It's the extraordinariness of life, however, that you can look at it. Now, this is amazing in the fact that so many things must come together for anything to exist in the way it currently exists. It's actually very chaotic. And when you start putting together everything that happens, it's chaos. It's a lot of chaos. Everything must come together for an experience to take place. Now, I had breakfast a couple weeks ago with a dear friend of mine, Ted Strunk. He and I have been friends since, I think, the 4th grade or 3rd grade, somewhere in there. We get together a couple times a year, have breakfast or lunch, and solve all the world's problems. If only the world would. But Ted made the comment that I really latched onto. He says, chaos laughs at the managed. Chaos laughs at the managed. I thought, wow, that's really good. I'm going to use that in a Dharma talk somewhere along the line. That's exactly right. If we think that we control our lives, you may want to investigate your perspectives. Causes and conditions control our lives, not so much what we do all the time. Although we do have a say in what happens, but that say is only in the moment. If we're uncomfortable with chaos, and many of us are, I'm one of them, and when we realize all of the chaos that's around us, maybe the Buddhist path is something we want to look at very seriously. Maybe we want to look at that middle way of understanding, not having such high ties to all of our thinking. Embrace the chaos is one way to do it. I'm not sure I always embrace the chaos. Sometimes you get a little antsy, but embrace the chaos. Embrace it all, because you're going to experience it all. You're going to experience the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the pleasant, the unpleasant, the neutral. Now, if any of you saw the movie Parenthood recently, I watched it again with my wife a couple weeks back, and I love that movie. It's just gets right to the point, I think. But the grandmother, the older grandmother in the movie, she's talking at the end of the movie. She says, you know, she's talking to one of the kids in it, and because their life is just going up and down, and she says, you know, life is like a roller coaster. It goes up, it goes down, it flies down, it goes up, it flies down again. And some people don't like living in the roller coaster. Some people want to live on the carousel, which just goes around, 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 not really up and down. The roller coasters is what she wanted to live in. She loved the highs and the lows. And you can't have highs without the lows. You can't have lows without the highs. Embrace it all. When you come to the realization that, wow, this moment is really special. When we think that nothing much is happening, a whole lot is happening, and it is always happening. When we look at the great unfolding of the moment-to-moment lives that we live, maybe our perspective will change. And the old adage, we don't see the world as it is, we see the world as we perceive it to be, very true when you think about it. Change your perception, and you change the world for you. Now, how do we change the perspective? By focusing on the here and now. Again, I'm saying a lot of the same thing over and over. But you don't want to live in the past, you don't want to live in the future. They don't exist. By breaking the hold of habitual thought, you change your perspective. You change your perspective through the development and the practice of mindful meditation. For me, that is the essence of why we're here. That is the key to why I'm here. Now, research out of Stanford University, more statistics, indicated that in the course of our day, we may have 60,000 to 70,000 thoughts. I've seen it, I saw it as low as, 20,000 thoughts and as high as 120,000. So it's all over. But let's just say 60 to 70,000 thoughts. However, 90% of all these thoughts are reruns. They're repeats. We think the same thoughts over and over and over. Think about your attachment to somebody you love. And when you think about that person, you think about them in the same way over and over. You can add a little bit, take away a little bit, but basically it's the same thinking over, or somebody who irritates you. They irritate you the same way all the time, and you think the same way all the time. If you're stuck in a negative frame of mind or a worrisome state of mind, you keep repeating the worrisome, the negative, the unwholesome thinking. Only by changing your thinking can you change what's going on right now. Habitual thinking can be broken by meditation because we're focused on that here, that now, that breath right here, right now. When we're thinking, always aware of what we're thinking, but when we're involved in mindful meditation, we're involved that we're thinking. And that is a key component of trying to understand this meditation that we're dealing with. When you're aware that you're thinking, you have the opportunity to become a little bit more like an observer, not an active participant necessarily. You become the observer of your thoughts, and you become aware that you can let your thoughts simply be. No force, no focus on the thoughts, no attempt to change the thoughts or thinking, no right, no wrong, no judgment if possible. Over time, you lessen the judgment and the unwholesome pattern of the habitual thoughts, and you keep in the top of mind awareness of the attitude of mindfulness, or mindfulness right here, right now. When you're the observer, you may be able to step back from the habitual patterns. You learn to let it come, let it be, let it go, and maybe the personal can become a little more impersonal. We want the awareness of this moment to change the awareness of the next moment. Now, the only time we can have this real awareness of the moment is in this moment. Now, it requires practice to truly focus on the moment and the present. But this practice is our meditation. I've had people tell me that they've tried meditation and it just doesn't work. One of the reasons they say this all, I can't meditate because I have this monkey mind. I have this racing mind. That's like me saying, I don't do yoga because I'm not flexible enough. Because I'm not flexible is the very reason I should be doing yoga. If your mind is racing, the very reason you should be doing meditation is to change that racing mind. The essence of the meditation is to just keep coming back. The essence, right now, right here, this breath, this is the essence of the meditation. Your mind wanders, and without any judgment, you just bring it back, right here, right now, to this breath. You take the in-breath, you look at the out-breath, the pause between the breaths. That's the essence of the meditation, is just coming back right now, right here. Now, when you experience an anger, or jealousy, or calmness, or abiding, it's not personal. Now, we think it's personal. I'm angry. We say I'm angry. Well, that's not the way you want to really think about it. The anger is not personal. But what is personal is the feeling, the pleasant feeling, the unpleasant feeling, or the neutral feeling. That is personal. That's where we get our reactions. The anger sets off an unpleasantness, and we are averse to the unpleasant, so we try to get rid of it. Or something good happens, and we want to attach to the good because that's pleasant. The anger is just anger. And we can hold on to it, and we can keep adding to the unpleasantness by our habitual thinking. When we're aware of the unpleasantness of the anger, we can also acknowledge the anger as being present and maybe step back and observe it. In this observation, we see that the anger is not who we are, but it's an emotional tone that is present, and it's unpleasant. And it's going to go away very quickly and be replaced by other thoughts that are either pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Now, maybe you're a little bit of a selfish person or an ego type person. The reason I bring this up is because that's me. I'm a little self-centered. Now, most of us have us a little self-centered because we're kind of the center of our world. But people like me may be carried a little bit further than other people. In the moment, you have the opportunity to change your perspective. In the moment, you have the choices that will impact the next moment. The thought comes to my mind that I'm self-centered. First of all, I shouldn't say I'm self-centered, just self-centered is present. But if I say I'm self-centered, or what I did was self-centered, in the moment, you make the decision not to let your self-centeredness take control of your thinking because you keep coming back to now, to this moment. You don't want it to take over your thinking in the habitual manner that it so often does. Maybe you feel anger because of a coworker or a relative. In the moment of mindful meditation, you make a choice to change your perspective regarding the anger. That choice may be to let it go or let it be, or to use acceptance as the bridge to peace of mind and calmness. You may also say to yourself, there's a bigger picture in this scenario, not just my perspective. Everything is not about me. Now, everything is about me for me, but you guys should think that way. I need to look at everything in the moment from the perspective of loving kindness, compassion, sympathetic joy, and equanimity, the four immeasurables. If your meditation focuses on those four immeasurables, you're breaking the pattern of habitual thought and you're staying in the moment. There are no choices that are made or in the future. They don't exist. The only time for a choice to be made is right here, right now. Now, if your mind is always busy, there's no time to experience the mindfulness, right? If your mind is always busy, there's no time to build on this thing that meditation can bring you. When you carry too much thinking, it's your thinking that creates the next moment. When you take the time to just be, you allow yourself to respond differently and impact the next moment without the habitual tendencies. We say we live in the moment, and that's said so often that it kind of loses its strength or it loses its importance. However, listening to AM radio in the 1960s, for those of us who were around in the 1960s. Now, there was a group called the Association. I'm sure you're all familiar with that group. And they had some big hits, Windy, Cherish, Never My Love, Along Comes Mary. The radio played those 60s songs so often that after a little while, you just kind of forgot about it. I would either change the station and I liked those songs when they first came out, but they played them so often that you kind of got tired of them. So I would change the station when they come on, or I wouldn't be paying attention to the song at all. At first you liked it, but then after a while it just became noise. And our thinking is noise a lot of time. It's just noise. That's what our thinking is. Noise can interfere with the quiet abiding of the moment. So when you see the flower, just see the flower. See the whole flower. The sun, the soil, the water, the fragrance, the seed, the previous flowers that had to give seeds for this flower to be. Because that flower is just as extraordinary as the fact that I'm here. When you see the whole flower, you're not just seeing the flower of your own experience, but when you see the whole flower, you're seeing a bigger picture, a big flower. That flower is dependent on everything that happened before. Everything that caused it to become is dependent on that. The ordinary flower becomes the extraordinary flower when we change our perspective. Thank you.